This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance. What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now. So I'm here with Nick D'Agostino. He's the automotive sales manager at Wiseco. The automotive segment of Wiseco is his baby. He's responsible to make his segment at Wiseco successful. Nick, how's it going?
Hey, bro. What's going on? How are we doing today?
Oh, I'm living the dream, baby.
I know you are.
Nick, tell us about yourself and what you're responsible for at Wiseco. Take us all the way back to, when you were a kid. Like, how did you get started and what's your background?
Well, it's a funny story, actually. No surprise with D'Agostino as a surname. Most people would think that I have a hammer on my hip or a cement float. It's coming from the Midwest, blue-collar country. I grew up in suburban Detroit, and I have my whole family. I think I may be the lone wolf, but I think everyone in my family is in the construction trades, either builds homes or, wires, electricians, cement work, some kind of deal like that. At a relatively young age, like 10, 11 years old, we moved to a new neighborhood, and my neighbor was a backyard mechanic, and I would kind of just hang out at the fence after I was done with my homework and just peer over the fence, like kind of creeper style. And, I will tell you that this will be the only time you'll ever hear me talk kindly about Mopar probably, but a 65 Plymouth Satellite rolls in the backyard, and I fell in love. It was the nastiest car you've ever seen. It was in need of restoration, and I was just transfixed on this thing. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I loved it. And I kept staring over the fence. And, at this point, we were new to the neighborhood. This guy and, his wife had not really made friends or were acquainted with my parents at all. But this guy, I couldn't help but see this kid drooling on the fence post just looking at his car. So,
Yeah.
I think he almost out of pity said, you can come over if you want. And that was where it all started, man. That was the guy that taught me, everything I know about cars. From something as simple as changing oil and brake jobs, because like I say, he's a backyard mechanic, to I helped him build the 440 that we ended up dropping between the rails of that thing. So it happened at an early age for me. It's one of those things I tell my guys all the time, especially interviewing you guys and stuff like that, is I can't teach passion. I can teach you anything technical about the piston business and about this business and how to be successful. I'll answer any question, but I cannot teach passion. It's one of those things, and we've all got it that are in this discussion and in this thing, but I was bit a long time ago, and that venom flows hard in my veins. So there's no no chance,
Yeah.
no chance of me. I had no chance in the construction world. It was I would have been an eminent failure for sure.
So how do you go from working on this Plymouth Satellite when you're, 13 years old to where you are now? Take us between that. Like, you're in high school, you get out of high school, you go to college. What were you studying in college?
It starts a little bit before that. I got a job at Pep Boys. It's like an auto parts. I don't know if you guys have them out west.
Yep.
But
Yeah, we do.
it was ridiculous. I got a job there, and I had just purchased a 93 Dodge Dakota, which for anyone that remembers that era Dakota, some of them came equipped with 318s, which just so happened to have horrible cylinder heads, but with a camshaft and nitrous, you could have a bottom 12-second truck. And I had bought most of the parts to do this, and I literally built the truck from a Chilton's manual. And had said, okay, well, this is how you take this off. And mind you, I know zero. I come from a family where you pay to get your oil changed. You go to the Valvoline shop and you get your oil changed. And we just started pulling, my buddy and I were curious about it. I said, well, all right, well, screw it. I worked for my dad on construction sites after school. I got a little bit of money together. All right, well, I called Comp Cams and I bought this and I bought this stuff, and I was buying this stuff through Pet Boys. So I got this job at Pet Boys, and that is the only job in my life I've ever been fired from for telling, this is kind of shitty, but I had this guy that wanted to race me and I wouldn't race him. So he ended up coming up to the Pet Boys, buying stuff, and confronted me and what have you. And I actually ended up racing him in front of the Pet Boys store. So as soon as I won the race, I came back to find out that I was fired. But the important part is that we won $100 that day, and that was more than I would have made at my $8.50 wage. So I call that day a win. College time came around, and I enrolled in a construction management course. The one thing I realized is this racing thing is awfully expensive, and carrying lumber packages and doing stuff like that around working for my dad after school was only going to make my car so fast. And so I can honestly say that I was willing to take on the construction management course in an effort to make a faster car. And as I'm in this thing, man, it was horrible. It was so horrible. It would be like any one of us going into women's fashion or something. I mean, it was so oil and water, and all I would think about. I'm challenged by stick figures when it comes to art, but this thing bored me to tears where I would sketch, cars and manifold designs and things like that on the insides of my folders of what, there's things going on up here, but it has nothing to do with sedimentary layers and where you can drill and what you can't do and how deep your footings have to be for additions and homes and shit like that. None of that stuff mattered at all.
Right. So this is just not doing anything for you. Well,
and it was one of those deals where it's like, I'm realizing at this point the conversation that has to happen. I got to go home. And to back up a second, I'm the oldest of 27 grandchildren. So my dad is the oldest of 7. So it was in our family, all these kids are in the trades. All the uncles are in the trades. My dad owns the company. A few of the uncles work for him. He is the patriarch of this organization. I'm his oldest son.
Yeah.
The latitude here is that Nick's going to take the reins and push this construction deal, but it's going to go further because he's going to college, and that's something none of us did. So there was a lot of pride in this, that it was, my son, he's going to college, and and he was so proud. I honestly think I did an extra semester just for him. Like, man, come on, you got to tough this out for Pops. But it was silly. It was like pretending like you're trying not to stare at the girl's big tits across the bar. You see them, dude. You're going to stare. You're going to do it. It's just what it is. And I finally had to go home and tell him, hey, I dropped out of school today. I didn't ask him because I knew what his answer would be, and I knew I wouldn't agree with his answer. So I had already come to terms with the idea that I wasn't asking, I was telling. Yeah, it's pretty much what happened, man. I came home and told him, hey, this is I'm quitting this deal, and I'm going into the motorsports deal. And
So what was your plan at that point? Where in the motorsports were you going to go, and how were you going to get there? Had you figured any of that stuff out, or you just were going to figure it out as you went?
I had started doing engines at night for a local performance shop. Mine was quick, so it's like, oh, okay, well, we've got a guy that wants something similar. Could you do it? Yeah, sure. It was one of those deals where, hey, wait, I can make money doing this. I don't hate going to work. I love what I do. Even when it sucks, it doesn't suck. There could be something here. So my day job, and it's actually funny how this thing comes full circle if you think about it. My first job in the piston business was at Diamond Pistons, but not as a sales guy, as most folks know me from that gig. I was actually in shipping and receiving. My very first job in performance was working for Diamond, and
so you started at the bottom.
I mean, I would mop the shop in 99, 2000 era. yeah, I mean, I would be packing boxes, mopping the shop, and then building the engines after hours. And one of the guys in sales there took out and actually ended up buying the shop that I was building engines at night. And so he says, hey, I'm doing this. Would you want to come work for me full time? Yeah, yes, please. I mean, I get to play with engines all day, and you're going to give me money? Yeah, I'm in. So I went and did that, and that was a good 2-year run. And for as much enthusiasm as the guy had, I wish he was a little better financial manager, because that thing went tits up in about 2 years and was done for. And I had just purchased a house. I was making reasonable money, and I had 3 checks in my hand that were not worth the paper they're printed on. So I've got a mortgage. I've got stuff going on. And the benefit of being in my hometown is that there's 5 marinas. So boat engines, Chevy 502s are, come out the ears. And I befriended one of the guys at the local shops in one of the marinas that does a lot of the fiberglass work and stuff like that. Well, he has an overhead gantry with a lift, and one of the things that people would just pay him for, like they'd pay you or I, is to R&R an engine. He was willing to do that for me because I had gotten the attention of a few people, because I built a guy's drag motor and he ended up sticking it in his boat, and the thing was hauling ass. So he garnered a lot of attention that way. Well, now it was keeping up with the Joneses. Mind you, this is all going on, and I'm still holding the same 3 pieces of paper that aren't worth a damn. So I get commissioned to build a pair of these 502s with blowers for this, I think it was a 42 or a 40-foot fountain. It was a ridiculous boat. Mm-hmm. And I finish these things, and he fronts me all the money for the parts and all the stuff, because I'm straight with him. Hey man, I've got a postage stamp of a house. This is my garage. This is where I live. It wasn't a seedy neighborhood by any means, but seedy was a few blocks over. And I started getting a little bit of anxiety about this thing, because I'm as these things are coming together on these 2 engine stands, I'm realizing these are the biggest engines I've built. Not only that, they're the most expensive engines I've built. And
yeah,
these 2 engines cost more than my house. So I'm like, oh shit. So here I am, me and my 3 useless pieces of paper, driven for performance, $100,000 on 2 engine stands, and I've got to deliver them in the morning. And not saying that anyone knows they're there, but I would work with the garage door open from time to time, so I'm not taking any chances. And there had been a break-in 2 doors down not like a week ago. So I'm on high alert, right? I end up, I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. So me and a Kimber 45 and a pillow and a really shitty blanket had the worst night's sleep you can ever imagine, sleeping in my kitchen because it's right outside of the back door that goes towards the garage. And at the time, like I say, this is the humble beginnings. I had a really horrible 99 Ranger that was my engine delivery beast. And thank God that's all it had to do, because I don't know that it could have done much more than that. And it would I would put engines in the back of this thing and shoot over to the marina, and I would have to make 2 trips because it's a Ranger. So I could move 1 engine at a time for these, twin screw boats. So long story short, wake up in the morning, deliver the 2 engines, collect my $3,500, and that is literally the money I paid my first and last rent on the building. I moved my tools in, and I had a building, I had tools, and I didn't have money for lunch the day I opened my shop. But I was convinced I have business, I'm doing business, I'm making money. I need a building. I need to get something around me. I need a structure, and I need a plan, but I don't know, call blind faith. I don't know what it was, but I knew that if I put this together, and I knew that if I put these things in place, that it would work. You know, one of my wife used to ask me, and other folks, you know, how'd you know it would work? I don't know today that it would have worked. I just no quit, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I wasn't.
You're gonna make it work.
I knew two things. I love the smell of race gas. I like things that go vroom vroom, and I want to do it for the rest of my life. And now I was, 23, 24 years old. I said, you know what? I could fuck everything I'm doing up and still start over, still reinvent myself. I could still be a builder or a plumber or whatever it was going to be. But this was my chance to take a run at this thing, and I was going to do it. And
So you started your first business with $3,500.
$3,500.
Yep.
$3,500, and the important part to note is that 24 of it was my first and last. This business was started. My engine business, Victory, was started on $1,100.
Yep, I think there's something to that.
But,
like you said, we do feel like misfits in so many instances of our lives. This is in your words.
It is
unable to relate with the outside world, right?
It's funny. I'm not much of a basketball fan, but being from Detroit, when I say, I go to these mixers with my wife. She works, for the Cleveland Clinic, so she's in the, this is white collar, upper echelon world. I'm more comfortable being dirty, and we go to these mixers and these black tie gimmicks, and it's almost to the point where mom's dressing you for church and you're 8 years old type gimmick. But I get there and, oh, what do you do for a living? Well, let's see. You split someone's chest open this afternoon. How exactly do I explain to you what the hell it is I do and make it? And the challenge is, right, I want to say something that makes you think I don't work at the Jiffy Lube, right? I'm not a dirty greaseball mechanic. I mean, we want to be proud here, right? And we got to build up our community. And that's part of what I love what you're doing, Reed, is it's almost a call to action to build up the community. Hey, if you're going to be in this thing, man, take a little stock in yourself. And unfortunately I cuss way too much, but whatever. But maybe that affects the image, maybe it doesn't, who cares? But it's one of those things of take stock in yourself and present yourself like a professional to be perceived as a professional. This is a unique time because not that the past generations did it wrong, but I think this generation with the internet, with the things and the accessibility we have, and the big thing is the visibility we have.
Yeah. We have an opportunity to change the conversation with the rest of the world and how they perceive automotive and automotive performance.
Nailed it. And it's a presence thing. It's the perception that when do you hear mechanic, or do you, and I used to say that there's this line in auto where you hear the lay person hears one of two things: mechanic or engineer. They don't hear anything other than that. So you're either an engineer, you make the parts, or you're a mechanic, you install the parts. But that's all they know. Hey, I've got a loud muffler. Okay, I'm going to the muffler place. Make me a new muffler. And that's, they don't know what goes on. It's all voodoo that happens in the garage. I mean, there could be someone out there in a Merlin costume with a wand for all they know. But we know, and not only do we know, we love what goes on with that. And on the performance piece, it's all the better because you're not putting exhaust systems and you're not dropping pistons in Toyota Corollas. I mean, it's exotic. It's unique to what it is, and I mean, every day is different.
So, Nick, are you a confident guy? Like, how do you deal with the devil on your shoulder that's whispering in your ear, telling you that it can't be done? Do you tell him to shut up, or do you just not have that guy?
That's a good question, Reed. I like that. It's real simple to me, man. If you're going to be in this thing, I mean, what's the end result? When we do all of this stuff, whether it's a tuner, engine builder, piston designer, piston sales guy, whatever it is, the end result is competition. The end result is I'm building my shit to be faster than yours. Yeah. If I thought about, or if any of these guys or any one of us, I think, thought about well, what if I'm not faster? You probably wouldn't do it to start with. You'd almost talk yourself out of it, When you're, talking about this beforehand is, when did you know you could do this? Shit, I don't know that I can do this today. I wake up and I go do it. I don't think about it because I can honestly say I love it. I don't think about it because I love what I do every day. Are there, days that are just kind of mired down in some nonsense? Yeah, sure. But I don't care if you're a day trader or you're, the manager at the Home Depot or you're in, the motorsports industry. You're always going to have some days that are kind of lousy, but, if you're at a point that it's all you think about and you're at a point where you want to do it, my advice to anyone, do it. Stop thinking. You're wasting time by thinking. Just start doing. Because like I said in the beginning, we've got a lot of thinkers, we've got a lot of talkers, especially with the forums. We don't have enough doers. Get out there and do. And you will be surprised.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I was trying to get to. Nick, tell us something that you're doing right now that has you pumped, has you fired up.
Good case in point is diesel. We moved into diesel at SEMA 2013. We'd made some diesel parts and brought them to SEMA and said, hey, by the way, we're going to try diesel. And I can't stress, we're going to try diesel enough. Limited data points. I don't know anything about diesel. I've never been on a John Deere tractor.
But you're going to figure it out, and you have the resources to figure it out.
Well, not to mention that,
and to knock it out of the park.
I'm confident that we have the best minds in our building, and I'm confident in our resolve. The team that I'm one guy. Most of you hearing this probably either don't know who I am or you've met me, but Wiseco. You talk to any one of the folks on the sales team, and that's the driving force. That's the piece that really carries this whole thing forward. And that's the biggest part of it is they approach it, and Wiseco as a company approaches this stuff with just like I say it a lot, and I know it's horrible grammar, but no quit. We're not entering to be second place. Second place is for someone else. We're coming here, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to fuck it up. And it's just what we're going to do. And, there's no joy in going in there just to be lap traffic. If you can't lead and you can't go in and win, then, it's kind of ho-hum. There's like I would use everyone that follows drag radial racing. I would use drag radial as a perfect case example. Donald Long holds 2 big races at South Georgia Motorsports Park every year. I've been a big fan and long supporter, and Donald's a personal friend. And, the Wiseco team and I kind of entered that space about 2.5 years ago and started talking to some of the players. Hey, we want to be in business with you. We want to work with you guys. Wiseco has the distinction of having the fastest car on 275 radials in David Pearson and the fastest car in competition in Brad Edwards. Someone goes out and runs 394 on a drag radial in a virtually stock suspension car on a Wiseco, 100 laps on the piston, pulls the damn thing down, and it looks perfect. How do you not high five and be happy about that stuff? So that's the thing that keeps me going is it's, milestones. We're known for power sports. We've got the big players like Travis Pastrana and some of those guys out there, and that's terrific. But, the best thing you can ever do for me to drive me, count me out. Wiseco team, count us out. Think that we're not there and think that we're not looking. It's going to be a surprise when we come right past you.
Right. So, Nick, what's the best way that you've found to promote your business?
Yep.
Like, is there one key point that you can point out to our listeners that you've recognized over the years that really works?
I go back to the time when I owned my engine shop, when I owned Victory, and I had, like I mentioned, I had little money, and I bought some decaling, I bought some, all the basic stuff that we all do when we start out. We need decals, we need business cards, we need all the nonsense, and then you start looking at ad spaces and forum sponsorships and all this stuff, and I literally pumped thousands of dollars that frankly I didn't have into promoting myself, when the best thing I could do to promote myself was be at the racetrack and have people performing. at the end of the day, it's all about results. You know, a guy doesn't want to hear me say our 4G piston will hold up to 1,400 horsepower. He wants to see dyno slips, and he wants to see a handful of guys making that power level and out there doing it with a Wiseco badge on their fender. That's what that guy needs to see. So I guess
so show them instead of tell them.
If there's an overarching comment in anything we approach, man, and anything I approach, prove it. Don't tell me about it. Prove it. Unfortunately, I think the internet is the best and worst thing that ever happened to this business. You know, I mean, the old days of super shops and Ram chargers and some of the stuff, you know, the brick and mortar joints where you used to go in and buy, you know, your parts. I mean, you know, the Summit mail order thing was almost seen as like a disloyal move. And, you know, the e-commerce thing has really been a complete and total shift these days. I mean, even, you know, talking with the big boxes, the Summits and the Jegs, I mean, the lion's share of their business comes through either the telephone or e-commerce. I mean, it's remote business, but, you know, it's also a blessing in disguise because it's information accessibility, and that's a common knowledge bank that we all feed from. So, you know, I think it's got its good and its bad.
Yeah. Talk about, you said here one of your favorite quotes is from Simon Sinek. Is that how you pronounce that? Do you know?
Simon Sinek. You didn't go watch the TED Talk, did you, Reed?
Oh man, I didn't do my homework. You're calling me out.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you a pass on that because after you watch it, your mind's gonna be blown, and then you're gonna text me like, "Bro, thank you so much." But it was actually really funny as I was, you know, it's the guy's a pretty quotable guy, and I was at a race, and Wes Buck, editor-in-chief of Drag Illustrated, we all know Wes. We were there, and he and I were jawing back and forth, you know, just kind of hey how's things type deal. And I brought up Simon, and he stole it, and he goes, "Start with why." And I said, "Exactly." And he knew the book. And one of the big quotes, and really anyone who's listening, TED Talk, Simon Sinek, start with why. Go do it. Pause this. Go watch. Come back.
So find it on YouTube, yeah?
On YouTube, for sure. It will change your approach, and it will open your eyes because it's one of those things, and it's, you know, frankly, I could have probably saved 10 or 20 grand that I didn't really have to give away because one of the big things that Simon talks about is, and one of his big overarching comments is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that's huge. The guy's not buying an engine. Mm-hmm. He's not buying a piston. He's buying the passion. He's buying the fact that the piston guy gives a shit to talk about things outside of the piston.
He's buying what it represents.
You know, it's one of those things is, you know, if you think about that and take that to a grander scale, right? Why do the Kardashians make $200 million a year? Why do some of the really motivational folks and, you know, why does Kim Kardashian's dog have, you know, 20 million followers on Twitter? It's the presence. It's who you are. They don't give a shit that it's a dog. They give a shit that it's you and the dog. It's the same concept with the piston. The piston is, or the engine or whatever it may be, or the tune. You may be tuning a guy's car, but that guy doesn't give a shit about the tune. He can get the tune done anywhere. You know, I mean, not for nothing. You do the tune, you do the engine build, you do whatever it's going to be. Whatever services is you're providing, you're selling them a part. As long as it's, okay, the guy gets a fair price and he gets the deal in its timely fashion and all that, whether he buys from any of us, it's the same deal. Did he feel like he got a value? Did he feel like the guy on the other end of the phone cared? Did he feel the passion coming through the phone? Was the guy inspired? Can you inspire? And I think, you know, so many of us that have gone, you know, into another realm where, you know, 10-second cars are slow, dude. You know, whatever. I wouldn't build something again unless it was this or that. You know, we are the upper echelon of this community. When the kid who's got the 14-second Honda is stoked about the cams he's about to buy from you, and you're excited back,
yeah,
that kid's hooked.
Yep, you got a customer.
You bought a customer for life.
Mm-hmm.
For life. And that's what that's about, man. It's about, you know, perception and don't put on the act. I mean, we're all here. Yeah, we all get aggravated. Yeah, you know what, dude, that's part of the deal. You're in a service business. You're going to get aggravated from time to time. Yeah, the guy's going to be too annoying with questions and this, that, and the other. But think about it. You were that guy at one point. You were the guy with too many questions. We all were. This is your opportunity to pay it forward. And I don't know if that's something that everyone realizes. Is for a lot of us, every single day we'll have someone on the phone and we have that opportunity to pay it forward, where we can, you know, we can help shape the future of this thing, the future of our industry, by helping these guys and giving them the guidance. You know, if we want to just blow them off with a shit answer, they're going to hang up and say, oh, that guy's kind of an asshole. And they're going to go to someone, and eventually they'll get the right answer, hopefully. Or this guy may spend his hard-earned money and go make a train wreck out of it. You know, we don't want that either. So, you know, I like that term you use, Reed, gatekeeper. I mean, that's, to a point, that's what we are, right?
Right. There's a lot to that about why, you know, like you said, to start with why, or the Simon Sinek guy says start with why. It is more about, or the reason, I guess, that people buy something is because of what it represents. Now, what people need to understand is, like, the product has to be delivered right. Like, it has to be a badass product. Like, it has to be delivered on time. Like, those things are non-negotiable, right? Like, you have to do that. So we're not even talking about that. You have to do that no matter what. That's just assumed.
That's time places to run a marathon. I mean, that's basis. That's
right. So obviously you have to hit those. But a lot of people think that they're wondering why their businesses aren't like flying off the handle because they do have a good product or service. Well, look, that's a huge part of it. But you might have a great product or service and still not be thriving. And the disconnect, the thing that you're missing, is that you're focused too much just on the product, and you're not making relationships with people. You're not showing people the connection between that product or service and like who you are and what it is that you represent.
You know, and I'll take that one further, Reed, is what is the value? What value does someone bring? You know, and that's part of what it comes down to. You know,
So what's your competitive advantage?
Well, and exactly, and you know why? You know, not for nothing. If I want to get online, and I'll use Wiseco because it's an easy one. If I want to get online and go buy Wiseco, all right, why do I buy from Kaizen Speed versus Real Street versus Titan? You know, just grabbing a few out of the air. Why do I buy from one from the other? Okay, well, I'm going to call these guys and talk to them. One reason or another, they're going to make a decision. Whatever that decision is going to be, it was based on something they perceived through the phone call. And, you know, that's once you get to the phone call. You know, at the curb, you could have the greatest thing going. Someone could come out with, or even Wiseco, we could come out with the indestructible 2J piston. Can't break it, doesn't matter. The Alpha Boys made 2,500 horse on it. It's laughing, you know. This is what's an E-Canoes piece, and Shane T swears by it, and every set of pistons comes autographed. You know, it could be the cat's pajamas, right? And
right. So the best product in the world.
Best thing you've ever seen. Best thing you've ever seen. No, and oh, by the way, it's $400. So it's the best thing you've ever seen, and it's cheap, and everything else. And if you don't have good brand awareness and people don't know about it, you'll be staring at a stack of inventory. It's brand awareness is the thing that, you know, and brand awareness comes from, you know, I tell this to folks all the time. You need to attend the events. Don't try and sell into a community you aren't part of. That's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes is folks will say, you know, it'd be like Wiseco here saying, all right, well, we want to be in diesel. So we're going to sell into diesel. But we don't know anything about diesel and we don't know diesel people. No. We got on the road and went to 12 or 15, 20 diesel shops. We sponsored diesel events. Before we sponsored the events, we went boots on the ground, walking. Hi, hello, how are you? This is my name. This is who I am. You know, there's a lot of brilliant minds in this thing, and some of the things they floated in air. You know, even on the podcast, man. I mean, there's been some really insightful stuff that's been said on the podcast where, you know, even me, I've been in this thing my whole adult life. And I take something away from it. Where
For sure.
Where it's like, holy shit, like Shane T's so smart it scares me. It's listen to him and the Hall Tech boys. It's like, all right, cool. I know I'm never tuning a car, and I will hire that one done. Okay, got it. Next,
Yep.
It's like a beautiful mind. It's like quantum physics over podcast. I'm good. I'm good. You just hire that one done. Got it. I'll build the whole damn car and just have it sent to you. Perfect. Yeah, it's and that's the other side of it is you talk about knowing weaknesses. You got to know what they are. I mean, you got
right. You got to know what you're not good at.
You got to.
What are you not good at? What's your Achilles heel?
Well, the fact that I don't believe I have one is probably the first problem. Honestly, I'm a very hands-on guy. Anyone that works at Wiseco would probably curse me on that regard. I try my best not to be a micromanager, but I'm very much a do-it-yourself, and entrusting someone else to do it and entrusting that it got done. It's that old adage, you'll never look after it like it was your own, and I take that stuff to heart. I don't get to do as much sales as I would like. I probably still talk to a dozen accounts or so doing different things, but I'll deal with anything from a 4,000 horsepower Pro Mod or top alcohol dragster to a guy with an EJ just making a few upgrades and happen to pop the ringlands on his OE part. To me, it's all the same deal. I mean, I think you have to go. Not saying I've been to the top. I mean, I'm certainly no Nitro John Force drag racer, but I think you have to make the full journey to come full circle. You have to at least be around that stuff and in that space at a high level. And then come back down and appreciate the day-to-day guy. If you go to any racetrack or, whether it's a standing mile piece or it's a drag race deal, you're going to have a certain level of guys that are over 200. You're going to have another certain level of guys that are between, $170, $180. And then you're going to have a bunch of cats in the 150s. There's more people running slower, and that's your enthusiast base. I mean, we looked at it at the Power Tour this year when we did it. I kind of stood back and got on top of the bleachers, and first off, I couldn't believe all these people had LS swaps in their Chevy stuff, but we'll save that for another day. I actually don't think I saw a single – I got really excited. I saw a carbureted engine, and I got closer, and I realized he had dressed up an LS with a carb on top of it. I was kind of bummed out, but I'm not – as you're picking up here, I'm not a big supporter of the swap. I'm a bit of a purist in that regard.
I gotcha.
You see the Chevy SB2 on two guns stuffed into a Mustang coupe, and it's like, dude, really? Come on, just build a Yates headed Ford and be a badass. I mean, come on, it's
Boo.
I know. See, and as everyone else is probably picking up from listening to me talk, and Conti over at Real Street bust my ass for this all the time. I'm a domestic V8 guy. Pushrod guy. That's me. Although they keep trying to prod me into buying a GTR, and I've been close a couple times. It's probably going to happen.
So you do try and do everything yourself. That's a weakness, or at least a limitation, because there's only so many hours in the day and only so many things you can do. Being one person with two hands.
Part of it, I'm a big fan of ownership. And, like I said in the beginning, we have the benefit with Wiseco and its infrastructures that each segment manager, each sales manager, whatever you want to call it, really manages that piece of the business. And the business is made up of several pieces. So for me, I manage the automotive business. Its end result is something I have to answer to. From a profitability standpoint, from a dollar standpoint, and even from a unit standpoint. Hey, if we sold a bunch more units but made less money, well, that's something I got to call for. But, the big part of that for me, and probably why the do-it-yourself piece comes in so strong is, when we do our annual forecast, because like we said, we're owned by Dover, we're publicly traded, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would shudder at this fact. In August, I have to tell a board of directors what our business is going to do a year from now. So in August of 15 this year, I'll forecast what 2016 looks like. And, you know, we were talking offline, Reed, and you asked the question, well, what if you're falling short? Well, we all came from a place where we used to hustle. That's when you remember your hustle. It's important never to forget it, frankly, but, you may be short 40, 50 grand, and you got to go find it. And that's honestly one of the things I like the most about it. I think in the purest form, I'm a salesman. I really enjoy the sale. We all enjoy closing that big number and, writing up that big ticket. And, I think that's something that really still gives me a charge. I don't get to do it often enough these days, but, it's really something that I look forward to and really enjoy. And it's, is it challenging? Sure. Is it scary? You bet. But, what's the alternative? You're at the Jiffy. Yeah. You're at the Jiffy Lube, right? So, who wants to be at the Jiffy Lube?
Yeah. Right. Well, hey, if you could get one do-over in your business, in your career, is there one? Is there a do-over? For you?
And again, construction adage, but it's all building blocks, right? I mean, you lay the foundation to build the walls, to put up the roof, to end up with the finished product. And, I think it would be slightly hypocritical to say that, and this isn't to disparage anyone that has do-overs. I think if I had financial backing when I started this thing, I don't know that I would have been as aggressive as I was. I think that I fought and dug as hard as I did because I had to. I don't think I had the alternative. But I think that's been a trait that has carried me to where I'm at now. I've had to dig, I've had to hustle. And because I've had to do that's gotten me, where I'm at today. So, I think it would be a little bit hypocritical if I were to say that I'd like a do-over. I think that it's all been building blocks to get me where I'm at.
Right. You got to go through those hard times, Necessity is the mother of all invention.
That's it. And it's one of those things is, this is little tidbit. You can leave this one in later on the edit. This is important. The president of PMI, Performance Motorsports International, and that's the company that owns, JE, owns Wiseco. I mean, that's the holding company that Dover owns. When he was 17 years old, he was the deburr guy on the shop floor at Wiseco. So this is a guy, went to night school, educated himself, came up all the way through the ranks, knows the business intimately, and now he's at the helm. So that for me is huge because it says he understands. He knows, and it's a good example for everyone else around is this is a guy who started at the bottom and worked all the way to the top. Even in today's standards, a lot of people say that, oh, you can't do that anymore. To that, I say bullshit. I look at it every day.
Absolutely.
And I watch people do it. Well, it doesn't work that way anymore. No, no, it does. Generally, I hate to say it, but generally that's a statement made by lazy people.
Yep, 110. I'm with you on that one, absolutely.
You've got to dig. You've got to work. And it's one of those things. I saw this quote the other day on Instagram. I can't remember who the hell had it. Otherwise, I'd credit it. But it had made a statement, and I'm paraphrasing, that entrepreneurs are willing to sacrifice 3 years of their life to live the rest of their life like the rest can. And I love that because it was one of those things of, I'm willing to eat or not eat or to struggle or not struggle or whatever it means. I'm stepping into this thing, and it's almost, and I would never compare this to our military, but it's almost like boot camp. You're going in the infantry for 4 years, and right, wrong, or otherwise, you're in for 4 years. And you can always, of course, hit the dump button in entrepreneurship, but that's the point, is that you go into this thing not looking for a dump button. You go into this thing trying to make it. And, a lot of folks say today, well, I need $250,000 and I need this. I don't have the buy-ins. You can't approach it that way. You don't approach it with what you don't have, because honestly, if you have the glass half full approach, you will never get there. Approach it with your strengths. Focus on your strengths. Focus on the things you do have. You will be surprised how far you can go. And not to mention that, a customer base that believes in you will carry you further than you ever thought possible.
You know, you just said focus on your strengths, and I heard a quote. I like following Gary Vaynerchuk. This guy's badass.
Oh, no,
he's
a bad for sure.
Yeah, that guy's cool, and he really speaks the truth. He says, focus on your strengths and don't give a fuck about what you're not good at.
Yep.
And that way you're not constantly trying to, like, take up what you're not good at. Like, look, focus and get really good. Hone the skills that you're already naturally good at and become great at them. And don't try to just be, you know, up to par or mediocre with everything,
yep.
right? So focus on what you're really, really naturally good at. Become badass at that and don't give a fuck about the rest of it.
You know, really simple example, man. I mean, my welding ability is probably sticking two pieces of metal together, and I'd be lucky not to electrocute myself. Now, given my position in Wiseco and in my career, and this late in my career, one would probably assume, hey, you've built a shit ton of cars, you could probably weld. My ass, I hired that one done. There's certain, you have to know your limitations. I've never rebuilt a transmission because I have a great trans guy. Great. Mm-hmm. I've done heads, but it's because I know how to do head work. I've done a ton of engines because I know how to do engine work. You do what you know how to, you know, I've said all the time, if I'm a success, it's because of the networking and the relationships that I've made along the way. It has more to do with that than it does about anything I've done. The hustle and the grind, yeah, okay, that's neat and all. People recognize the hustle and they want to work with you, but you know, without the help and without other folks, you know, collaborating, a lot of the stuff doesn't get done. I mean, look at some of the key projects that are out there that are really setting records and turning heads right now. There's not one guy at the helm. I mean, unless he's the guy flipping the check. But, okay, take the guy who's flipping the check out of the way. You know, things don't happen with one dude, man. It's a collaboration of some very bright minds. And, you know, I think that we're blessed in a lot of ways with the, you know, motorsports aftermarket. There are some brilliant minds that walk around us, and you know the new guys. You know, I know it's the, you know, when you're starting out, it's one of those things. Is look on eBay, see where everyone else is selling it, and I'm gonna dump the price. Why do you want to transact at less margin, man? That means you're making yourself less money. You know, that's one of the things that I've had a lot of conversations with on folks is, you know, this race to the bottom dollar driven routine.
What's with the race to zero? It's just people survive on the thrill of the sale or what? But like, what keeps, you got a guy that's selling for nothing. Eventually he goes away, or he never grows anywhere because he doesn't, right? He never makes enough money to do anything of significance. But as soon as he goes away, another whack-a-mole pops up. So like, what do you think drives that? Like, why do people even want to do that? Is it just the thrill of the sale? What do you think the reason behind that kind of stuff is?
There's two takes I'll give you, and one of them is my opinion as a manufacturer, putting my Wiseco hat on, is that a guy has a viable product, but he doesn't know how to sell it. You know, a lot of the guys that I find out, you know, because and anyone listening, map@wiseco.com comes right to my desk. Anything you see out there in violation comes to my desk, and I spend 6 hours a week going through pricing, and it's a never-ending struggle, and it will be a never-ending struggle. If someone buys from you because they're the lowest price, there's no loyalty that comes from that. If someone buys from you because you actually gave a shit and talked them through the package and you know, you talked it up and you said, you know, man, this is going to be great. I have this in my own car, you know, whatever it may be. That's a relationship. People do business with the folks that they like, you know, and that's what it comes down to. A guy may buy from you on price, but that guy's not going to buy from you again unless he wants, you know, the cheap deal. And the hard part is that it's tempting. I know it. The money's in front of you. You got to match it. You got to take the deal. I've heard it all, man. The pricing discussion is probably something that consumes more of my life than it should. But you know, it's an ongoing deal. It's you know, and it's tough. It's not a one-dimensional answer. You know, the easy thing is, how do you get a group of folks that are selling to the bottom and racing to the bottom, how do you get them to care more about the product? The honor system just doesn't work here. And, and that's where as manufacturers, we've got to come up with different programs. And that's something that's ongoing now. In fact, we're reviewing a program that we feel will really cure this because, folks are, if there's one thing that folks are good at on the internet and e-commerce guys, you're all excellent at ratting each other out. So I've got invoices from just about everybody sitting on my desk of, hey, this transacted here, and it's like, okay. So, you get enough counts and you have some uncomfortable discussions with certain people, and they're either going to get it or they're not. If you're hurting the brand image or the integrity of our company, then I'm probably not interested in doing business with you. And, that's a hard line to draw, but it's a line that needs to be drawn. It's part of the deal.
Fair enough, Nick. Nick, I want to transition to quick answer questions. I'm going to try and fire these things at you and try not to delve too deep. Fair enough?
You got it. We're on the game show. Let's do it.
So tell us about a game-changing product that you've seen in the last year.
Real easy. I've watched enough guys do it. Unfortunately, Econews Lexus and Wiseco racer Dwayne Mills had the issue with the wheelie that almost resulted in the flip over. The pitch sensor that has been brought in is huge. There's so many cars that are doing wheel stands these days, and being able to save these cars and save the investment, but more importantly, keep the drivers safe. I think that's massive.
So Davis traction control is what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, Shannon's done a kick-ass job with that product. I mean, it's pretty rad, man. He's really done a nice job, and I mean, really any of the fast guys out there are running it. It's pretty killer.
Nick, what software program are you using on a daily basis?
I mess with a bunch of stuff, but one of the things I've been messing with the most probably with the Office 365 conversion is the Lync program. I think it's pretty cool. It's basically like an inter-office messenger type thing, but you can attach files, programs to it, and that. With our training, our product trainings that we do remotely, it certainly helps a lot on travel expense. I can do a product training in the morning in Florida and then do one, for Kaizen Speed in Washington in the afternoon. And,
right, without having to get on a plane and
well, right,
yada yada. Yeah,
without the travel days, with all our nonsense.
How about a favorite app? Do you have a favorite app? Something useful that you could recommend for us?
I'm such a tech dork. One of the things that I stumbled onto is, and honestly, your question made me think of it. Is I downloaded this thing, and it's for folks that are fearful of like flight anxiety, fear of flying type thing. And the app is just called Soar. But what I thought was super cool about it is that it's got a G meter on it. So someone had told me about a G meter for commercial aircraft, and I'm like, what? So I Googled it, and it said, yeah, the Soar thing. It like supposed, I guess a point, certain turbulence is supposed to have a certain G or whatever's going on. So it's supposed to make you more comfortable. I don't know. But I just think it's neat to kick it on some points during flights and just see what's going on. It's like a G-Tech for your car. I don't know. It's,
Yeah, I'll check it out. Soar.
Soar, S-O-A-R.
Cool.
Techie dork stuff, man.
For sure. We're all guilty of that on some level. I've never heard of that one, so I'll check it out. Thanks. What about a favorite shop tool, Nick? What do you got? You got something cool?
I bucked up and bought the Kent Moore torque angle thing. It's basically the GM approved tool, and it's got the digital readout and everything. Man, you want to talk about sexy? This thing is just freaking gnarly. It's
So it's a fancy torque to angle.
But it's all digital, and it. Of course, because I'm super tech dork, it's got the digital torque wrench piece that I put on it. So we've got digital torque wrench, digital readout, digital torque to angle.
It doesn't do anything silly like half degrees or anything, does it?
Well, it doesn't do half degrees, but
that's good.
It breaks it in the decimal. And I'm a bit of an OCD in that I like my torque values to end in even numbers. So Take that for what it is. You'll never see me torque something to 75. It'll always be 76.
What's the product again? You said a Kentmore?
Yeah.
Where do we find it?
Kentmore.com. It's their digital torque to angle meter. I think it's a value right now. I think you can get one for like $450. But they're pretty killer, man.
Cool. Well, to end the conversation, what's the future of automotive performance as you see it?
Automotive performance, this business, if you compare it to other industries, it's very young. It seems to be every 30 years there's something amazing. I really have to say this is the decade of turbocharging. Domestic drag racers are putting turbos on big blocks, and this is common. This is a mainstay, and that's been the last really 10 years. Those guys were all nitrous guys.
Turbochargers are definitely they're in everything. I mean, Ford's got their whole EcoBoost line.
Right.
Engines are getting smaller. Everything's coming with turbochargers from the OEM level, and like you're saying, it's got way more acceptance in high levels of drag racing too. So yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
And I think the big thing of it is, where does motorsports go from here? Efficiency. We've done 900 cubic inch big blocks. Okay, we've done 1,000 cubic inch big blocks. Okay, we've reached the paramount. We hit that fictitious number. We did it. Okay, terrific. It's not sustainable. Now, take a page out of the Sport Compact book, and that's really what the domestic guys have done. It's not as hard on the parts as nitrous. Now all the nitrous racers are cursing me right now, but it's fact of the matter. You can do more with it. It's more sustainable for a prolonged period of time. And, the thing we have to remember is most of the guys we'll talk to on a day-to-day, they're working on their daily driver, and they just want something that's kick-ass. It doesn't have to be, they're not, while a lot of them end up building one, they're not setting out to build a trailer queen, And that's the important part about it is go into it with the mindset and, as you're helping some of these guys is, this is something that still needs to be daily driven. Don't take them to the camshaft that's going to make this thing ignorant where, you can't do anything with it. I mean, that's why I say we are really steering the future of what the motorsports industry will be. And I think what that industry looks like, I don't expect the electric car piece to take off. I think the Volt's cool and all, but, at the end of the day, people love driving the cars. They want gasoline. They don't want mass transit. And, folks are going to continue to modify cars and, continue to get around smog things and all that stuff. So, the efficiency piece, I think, is the biggest thing that we're going to see and continue to see.
Hey, Nick, I want to say thanks so much, really, for taking time. I know you're super busy. This is a busy time of year, so appreciate you taking the time to tell us your story and what you're about, what Wiseco's about, and help us understand what it takes to get off the ground and get things rocking and rolling. So I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
No, for sure, brother. I appreciate the invite. It's been real good.
No doubt. How do we connect with you and your company?
www.wiseco.com. Stay tuned. Within the next 6 months, we will have a new website. So that'll be a nice change for us. But Wiseco.com, we'll have our listing, and we've always got new product stuff up there. If you're a distributor out there and you want our inventory feed, reach out to your salesman direct, and we can get you hooked up with that.
Awesome. You can check out more about Nick and more about this interview at doitforaliving.net. Nick, until next time.
All right, brother. Be good.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app. Tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests. Thanks for listening, and good luck.